Hello, so this is our third evaluation question blog, and we're going to look at the third evaluation question, which is how, no, it's not how anything, it's what have you learned from your audience feedback. So what we're going to talk about is how we gained feedback from our target audience, what kind of things they said, and then the same kind of thing, but when we showed them the products after we completed them, the feedback we got from those. So the feedback that we got during the creation and how that's kind of impacted on what we did and the feedback we got afterwards. Which we can obviously look at if we were to do a similar product in the future, how we could improve and make the products better.
Okay, Alex, do you want to start?
Yeah, so what we initially got from the target audience interview and the focus group that we did was that what they seemed to want, at least in the focus group, was like a short sort of narrative introduction to the video. So you know, like the initial news broadcasts that we put in, you know, that was what they were on about, and so obviously, like I said, we ended up putting that into the video in the end. So that was one of the things we learned. Another thing was that from the actual one-on-one interview that I did with a member of our target audience, I found that what he generally liked in a video was like sort of meaningful lyrics, so that was why we chose the song The Last One Alive, because the lyrics, you know,
There's an easy narrative to follow.
Yeah, it's an easy narrative to follow, and also, so like coming with the meaningful lyrics is a video that is actually relevant to the lyrics themselves, and so, you know, in the production of it, we wanted obviously to make a video that would link in with the lyrics. That's why we've got certain sections where it does actually link, like when he finds the car, it's like, we find hope within this place. It's like, where time dissolves the brightest flame, we've got the match burning out, and it all makes sense towards the narrative, and then the narrative links in with the lyrics.
So yeah, what do you want to move on to next? Just go straight for what happened afterwards, or let's go during. Do you want to carry on from that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So basically, with the audience feedback that we got before we started, so that was basically the research at this stage. We let that influence how we constructed our product and planned our product quite a lot. Mm-hmm. So again, following on from what Alex said, with the focus groups and especially with the quantitative questionnaires that we did, we got a lot of interesting results, such as the result that I think it was about 63% of our respondents liked it was a combination of both narrative and performance. In
just in the focus group.
No, this is the
questionnaire.
The questionnaire.
Yeah, right.
So basically, we made the quantitative questionnaire, as you've seen on my blog, and we handed it out to target audience members, and they responded, and we used a lot of the data that we collected, and we've shown them in pie charts, for example, to what they've said, and we've used the audience feedback to influence our decisions. So with the question about the combination of narrative and performance, or just narrative or concept, the overwhelming majority, to a large extent, wanted the combination of both performance and narrative. So when we made our video, we had this in mind. Obviously, we had our own preferences, and we had our own research and other stuff that we had influencing the decision, but this was a major part in helping us do this. Another thing we got from it was we asked them, would you prefer a cinematic or unfinished music video? And again, the overwhelming majority said cinematic, as you can see from the pie charts. So again, in the narrative, we made it very cinematic, didn't we? We used long shots. We made sure that all the focus and zoom was right. We made sure that all the shots were very clear, that the pans were nice and steady. We used stabilization effects in Final Cut, for example. All of this to basically make an effective a product as possible for the audience.
Yeah.
And I think with our research, a lot of what we did was to do with that, and not just our own research, but when we did research into the band, for example, online, we found that the main part of it was the Demon Hunter Skull, for example, Because of that, what we've learned about that audience, that's influenced our decisions majorly, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In our creation of our front cover of a digipack, in that we've put the Demon Hunter skull forefront in main large central sizing, so that they could see exactly what they expect and what they want out of this, which is a huge part of the whole band with the Demon Hunter skull.
Yeah.
Basically, if you've got the target audience circles, you've got the Demon Hunter fans, and then you've got fans of that genre, and then you've got anyone who sees the song. And the Demon Hunter fans are central to that, which is why we had the Demon Hunter skull both at the forefront of the digipack, and we used it symbiotically on the poster as well.
Just another thing, just quickly, I was going to say before you begin about Michael's on about stabilisation in the shots, which reminded me of actually another bit of audience feedback that we got, which was I think in the initial edit that we were working on, we had sections.
A rough cut, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it's the rough cut. But what we'd initially done in that was when the chorus started, the chorus of the song. That was initially we were initially going to play the quite slow moving section in the house, which is quite emotional when he finds the jacket of his dead brother. We were going to have that play over the chorus, but audience feedback from that said that they what they wanted instead of that section was some more fast-paced band shots. A bit of a problem that arose from this was that meant we couldn't advance the narrative properly in that area. So what we ended up doing was in the actual video, using the idea of still having the narrative there, but play in short, snappy sections in between, being cut up by shots of the band. So going back into this fast-paced chorus that's playing in the background, and that actually sort of bled into the section after the solo, because what we did then was this was what I was reminded about stabilisation. We actually purposefully didn't put stabilisation on the shots where the protagonist was sort of running around going crazy, it's almost disorienting.
Towards the end.
Towards the end, it's almost disorientating the audience. The audience, much like sort of make them empathise with the way the main character is feeling.
We also added to the band shots. We added the earthquake feel, which kind of almost is the opposite of stabilisation. Added some wobble, added some shake to kind of keep it continuous with the video as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we've learned from the research. But then, throughout our performance and throughout the creation and the editing and the construction of it, we also use audience feedback then. I mean, for example, do you remember when we were filming the first couple of band performances and Mr. Atkin was saying about the lighting, about how, I mean, there's plenty of times.
Too bright, they said.
And they said it was too bright, so
we spent the entire first time, and then afterwards, it was like an entire filming session. It was like probably 3 hours accumulatively.
Yeah.
And in the end said, oh no, all of those were crap. Basically. We need to
do it. But we tried around with it, and in the end we got quite good lighting, I thought. Also in terms of the projection, so when we had shots we had to have them at a certain angle, didn't we?
Yeah.
And because we set the stage up too far, too close to the wall, you couldn't have the shots in so that you would have the montage washing over us, could you?
Yeah.
So Mr. Atkin gave us some audience feedback Catkin, in that we should have it a bit more forward. So they put it 6 feet forward, and it
6 feet.
Yeah, it was 6 feet.
It wasn't 6 feet.
It was. He said 6 feet.
It was
but we were
about
like, we can't do 6 feet.
It was about a foot.
Oh, okay, it was like 4 feet.
It
was quite far.
6 feet.
It wasn't. No,
it was.
It was quite far.
It was like 4.
It was good 4 feet.
It was 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah.
But
about a metre and a half.
there was quite a few changes we did after we'd got all our footage as well, or after we got all the narrative footage especially.
Yeah.
So obviously we had to do editing. We'd start the editing before we finished the filming completely, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it all. So there were bits and bobs we did, and then thought, oh, well, maybe when we film something, we have to chuck that in there. But because obviously, when we played it, there were big gaps. The teachers and other people would see it and say, well, why don't you put certain things that they know we'd shot into these gaps? And when we did, it actually looked alright anyway, so we didn't need any more filming. So there was just a few things. For instance, there was one shot during the solo. We didn't want it to be purely the actual solo, because it'd be quite difficult to time the fingers, etc. And not to mention, it wasn't actually Michael's fingers, so it would be very awkward because we'd only be able to have shots of the actual close-up guitar, so there wouldn't be very much variation if we only had.
Which even worked, we couldn't do it, could we?
Exactly. Yeah, but
and we didn't want to give the audience enough time to work out that it wasn't actually Michael.
do they know that yet? That it isn't Michael playing?
Yeah.
The jig's up, fellas.
If they've watched this far,
so
then the secret's been revealed.
So what we did was we put a few shots of the other band members, so me and Alex, or Michael's face, just to break up the solo. And there was this one bit that we had quite a dispute over, especially me and Alex. I put in this shot of Alex looking up at the camera, and this was before we had the looking at the camera at the beginning. So
this was where audience feedback became a bit of a problem, because we had two different audiences, two different audiences. One saying don't have that in, and one saying yes, have that in. It looks good.
One person. Long story short, it was Mrs. Adey and Mr. Atkin, obviously two B&E teachers.
Yeah.
I had quite a few lessons with one. Alex had quite a few lessons with the other because we're in different classes. One said, "That looks really good. I like that." I come back, see it's been deleted, put it back in, ask Alex why I deleted it. Mr. Atkins said, "Take it out. It looks rubbish." And I'm like, "Well, this is awkward."
Yeah. We were dead split, weren't we? Like, I was thinking the same way as you, and Michael was kind of on the same kind of viewpoint as Alex, and we kept kind of changing it, and it was only until we kind of sat down and kind of broke it down together that we actually decided that we.
Eventually, we got rid of.
We did end up,
but we didn't get rid of it. We moved it, and
we did end up including a shot of the drummer.
We put a shot of the drummer, but just not the one where he looked at the camera. Instead, we moved it. We moved that to the beginning, and then added in a shot of me looking at the camera and Michael looking at the camera, so it was more not symbolic. It was kind of symbolic.
Star image, isn't it?
Yeah, stylized. That's what I was looking for. It was more stylized, and it links to other music videos where obviously they do look at the camera. It's not, of course, it links to performing to the audience. That is the viewer of the music video. So that was just one example where audience feedback didn't really
divided us, didn't it?
Yeah, it divided us. So it wasn't all, laughs and giggles. It was it was a bit of a nuisance at some points.
Yeah,
but not saying it didn't. Others it was alright. I mean, like
there was it helped more than
it didn't. The whole projection idea was Mr. Zadie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We got audience feedback, and obviously we discussed it as a group, and we thought it was good. We put it in, and with the projection itself, actually, when I'd made the projection, I edited it obviously and uploaded it to YouTube and whatever, and I showed it to Jack Doughton, and you've seen a vlog about it, and he basically said that although he liked the content that was in it, he said it'd be much more effective for the whole concept, because obviously what the montage is, if you didn't know, is a load of apocalyptic content. So basically natural disasters like atomic bombs, and then like deserted, ruined cities and stuff. And he said it'd be much more effective for being projected if it was like a lot more condensed. So he said if you don't have this massive clip, if you put it into the same length as the song, and then you can press play on the song at the same time as the projection, and then you don't get the same bit in twice, for example, if you keep replaying it, and it's a lot more action filled, which goes along with the apocalypse and the sort of really energetic type of performance.
Which makes sense, but in the end, we didn't really take word of that, because I still think it looks pretty good without it, without having done that.
Well, I mean, I changed the projection because.
Oh, you did change it a little bit.
No, I changed it a lot.
Did you?
I cut it down from 13.5 minutes to the same length as the song.
Did you? I didn't really.
So I thought it made it a lot better.
That's why we're going on about the music video.
If you watch the two projections, I think you'd find that the one I did based off Jack Doughton's audience feedback was much better.
Yeah.
Oh, was this before the one where you acted to the actual music video?
Yes.
Oh, I was thinking the one you actually.
What
Oh,
I'm
I
talking
was
about.
thinking
No,
after.
What we're on
Yeah.
like what we're on about is how we actually basically just made a music video for Demon Hunter: The Last One Alive to go in the background of our music video for Demon Hunter: The Last
Inception.
One Alive.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what we need to talk about now is the
Inception.
audience feedback.
Game of Thrones
Oh yeah.
comes back April. Wink.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's gonna be over now by the time we've watched this.
Oh,
Probably.
cry every time.
Yeah. Anyway, so what we talk about now is the audience feedback we got from finalising and the end of our music video.
You mean afterwards? Or?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that means I think Nathan, you got quite a lot of stuff you want to talk about.
Yeah. You talk about something while I get it up.
Okay. So the main thing we use to help us learn about our music video when it's in its final stage was we went around. I think it was me and you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we got an interview from two teachers, so
Yeah.
two people who know a lot about music videos, and obviously a lot of their job is
Yeah.
making music videos and watching music videos. So that was quite valuable feedback. And we also got 3 target audience members
Yeah.
to give their audience feedback on what we've learned, and we feel like when we compare that feedback to the one that we've got at the start, you can see a lot of progression. So, for example, they were very happy about the way the narrative was linking in with the lyrics, weren't they? And they were very happy with like the energetic, especially Nathan, the way he was singing and the way he was headbanging and stuff. And I think Mr. Ratkin and Mr. Zadie also said similar things, didn't they, Alex? Mr. Zadie.
Well, yeah. Zadie and Atkin both said that they loved the sort of the cinematography, the look, you know, the colour,
Yeah.
the feel, everything, how it linked in perfectly with the genre. They said that we clearly assigned the roles well. That Nathan is a very good actor, and that we'd use that to our advantage.
You're supposed to act modest.
That was modest. Oh.
And that was the feedback that we got from actually a lot of them. What else? What else did they say? They said-
So when we
it was
finished
about
the-
cinematography, wasn't it? And he
Oh,
was
they.
talking
Oh,
about-
Zadie actually mentioned about the graphic match, which was something
Oh,
we
yeah.
were not
Yeah.
100% on at the time. But Zadie said he said the use of the graphic match is very good. So we were like, there we go. So we learned. So that's another thing we learned is that
Unintentionally.
unintentionally that we wanted a graphic match in there, and so that made it into the final cut.
one more thing about you know, the areas of the narrative that might need to be made more clear. And we also did that, for example, with the shot of the zoom in for the photo of the
Oh, that was annoying. Actually.
that it was very wide and it was very
Quite dragged out.
dragged out and unstable in terms of like it was quite it wasn't very great viewing, if you know what I mean.
You also
Like,
couldn't
it didn't
even
work together.
You couldn't even
So
see it.
you couldn't see it properly. So you couldn't see the jumper. I mean, the whole point of that shot of the family in the middle is to have the jumper so that the audience can see the jumper that he is now crying into because he knows it's his brother's jumper that's dead is the one that is in the photo. And because they couldn't see that, we learnt that from audience feedback again. We had Sir, he mentioned that to us, didn't he? So we cropped the image in Final Cut quite simply, and we used
and we put a big red circle over it just so we could see the jumper.
Yeah. So we edited it to make the narrative more clear because now they can see clearly that this jumper is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
So there was quite a lot of cases. I mean, that's just one example, isn't it? We had that in other cases, but you know, going on too long now. So
Okay, just quickly.
So basically,
Oh,
when we
you go.
go on. When we finished the video, we rendered it all out in Final Cut, made it look pretty, and then uploaded it to YouTube. And Nathan shared it on Facebook. So he's got some of the responses we got. Do you want to read through a couple
So,
of them just to see what the audience
Oh, I haven't
thought?
seen these actually.
There's nothing major, but it's just that none of it's negative at the end of the day. So one comment was just that's so good with a smiley face.
That was
One
really
actually
good.
mentions the projection screens behind us. Just, I really like the projection screens behind you when you're lip syncing. That was good. So just note, that therefore shows that people are actually noticing the smaller details.
Yeah.
Absolutely blew my socks off.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a start. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Very cool. That's
Great feedback.
Great job, guys. Amazing. That was awesome.
I would legit.
I would legit buy this
I would
song.
legit buy this
From
song
someone
because
who I
it
don't
does.
think understands it wasn't actually us.
Joel, that was actually. I quickly mention this because it is kind of relevant actually.
All process
It
goes
was probably so convincing that many people actually thought it was us playing and singing. There was quite a few people. For instance, my driving instructor for one. He's one of my friends on Facebook. When I got on the internet. When I got in the car with him, we started driving away. He said he watched it and he said, "I didn't know you could sing like that." I'm like, I can't. So it just shows. In some way, I kind of stuck my nose up because it shows that the video and the lip syncing was obviously convincing in that it actually looked like it was us, which is what we were aiming for. Obviously, we didn't want it to look like it was a student made video. We wanted it to look like something you would see on Kerrang, on those kind of TV shows on the internet, on YouTube, etc. And through these comments and the mistakes people have made, it just really emphasised that. I thought what we all thought.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
Well,
We've talked
that's
about everything.
fine, yeah.
That's evaluation question 3.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for not watching.
Thank you for not watching.